ecliptic. And that's the wave that we're going to get to know. Because now we're going to transform this into a chart. As you can see, here is cardinal fire. So this is his point right at the nozzle where all sine waves start. Isn't that appropriate? Cardinal fire. Plasma. Cardinal. Not fixed plasma. Not the sprayed, sprinkly, mutating. Cardinal. It has to be. See how this is science? And when you look and penetrate through what these two conditions mean and all the other 12, you understand that a wave must, as it curves, it's always, remember, it's a helix, not a spiral, two-dimensional, it's a helix. So that's the sine wave is going like that. You know, we look at it like this. Here, we look at it like that. But when you look at it this way, it will be going like that as it goes around. And obviously, there has to be more than two polarities in that cycle. And that's how energy, they would know when to inject, for instance, in an engine, they would inject fuel at this point. And then most probably here, at like a phi ratio or 120 degrees, and over here where all the fire is, cardinal, fixed, mutable. You see? And look at this, isn't it interesting that you've got your two fires up here where, remember, this was the day and this was the night in the 24-hour clock. This was the summer and this was the winter in the year cycle. So we see fire turns up there and then finishes right here at fall in Sagittarius, mutable fire, right before winter. No fire in this quadrant. None at all. Water, air, and earth. And then if you look where air begins, opposite to fire, this is Saturnian air. You see? In Libra, Saturn exalts here, the sun exalts here. Daylight, sun. Lucifer, here, the night. Libra, Saturn sign. The black one, the darkness, Satan, Saturn. See, so we have these two deceivers. One is Lucifer, who deceives you by vision. You go around and you think, oh yeah, this is the real world. It's solid. You know, it's not lasting. It's changeable. See, so the eyes will trick you. You see, so he will teach you. The sun, Lucifer. See, Luke Skywalker, Lucy in the sky with diamonds, Lucifer, Luke. It's the sun. And his brother who kills him is the night, Saturn. And you see here, we have all the rulership of mostly Saturn. Saturn rules Cancer, Capricorn and Aquarius and exalts in Libra. There's no Saturn going on here. Saturn doesn't like any of these signs. Don't like this one, don't like that one, don't like that one. Hates that one, and is not good in that one. It's good here, here, and here. You see? This is the kingdom of Satan, the fallen one. Okay? Inverno, infierno. Hell is not hot necessarily. It's cold. This is the coldness. This is the warm part of the cycle. So you see, all of these, the four elements, they get to express themselves at their birth or their growth or their decay stage. Okay? And this is expressed by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The creator, the preserver, the destroyer. Again. And that's how energy is able to unfurl itself, in the phi ratio. It's how it enables itself to continue because all is motion. And the Taurus field is also, in the Taurus field, is a precessional rate. So what's a precessional rate? Well, the Taurus field, we know that the lines of force are going like this, reciprocating, right? But they're also precessing. So So not only do they reciprocate, but they're also going around. Right? And that's how the energy is able to propagate. Intelligence, mind waves. This is all mind waves. Ria's dream or Ria's reality. So, yeah, that's where we're going to go to next. But let's have a look at these monads first, and all the gods, the Godhead, how it is. See, this is, you know the word bullseye? Bull? It's the eye of the storm. Bull is always turning up, guys. And when you hear that word, think about it. Because you work it out. Bullseye, that's the bull's eye, the Taurus's eye. Or the apple of God's eye. It's an apple. And that's it. You know, this is the outer ring of, say, if you look at, say, Ken Wheeler's work, this is the Taurus field, looking down from the top. What you'll see, he's got a ferrocell. And then he gets a magnet, and with ferrocell, it's like, it's got a magnetic liquid in a very, very thin layer between two pieces of glass. And it's called a ferrocell. It's got LED lights, red, blue, and green, around the perimeter. And so you can see the magnetic field, and it's this. All magnets do this. And he shows, by moving the magnet, he shows, see, that's redshift. And then you go to that, see the blue, there's the blue shift. And you see the blue is more pulling in, and the red is more radiating at a phi ratio. 1 to 1.618. Always that. All Taurus fields are doing that. This is 1, this is 1.618. This is the fat part of the egg, redshift. So, there it is, symbolised like this. That's why they talk about the black sun. The white sun and the black sun, they are both one and the same. Both one and the same. We don't see the black side except for night. At night, we actually do see the black side of the sun. Wow. It sounds like crazy talk, but Pierluigi Gina, the Italian genius who worked with Marconi and discovered the Earth was stationary, proved it with his laboratory on YouTube in 2004, and before he died. Very interesting man, you know. He's been able to explain a lot about the sun, and he believes that the sun and the stars are holes in the sky. Holy holes, remember? And so, but he's considered a bit crazy in a way, like all geniuses. You know, his experiments have all been successful. He can prevent seismic reactions with his technology, and also send clouds away or bring clouds. And you can see it on YouTube. So if you look into Pierluigi Gina, but he says something very interesting. He says, I have shown many important people of my community, like the mayor of town and everything like that, I've shown them the sun by night. So, however he does it, he was showing them the sun by night, because when we see night, we don't see the sun, and it's sort of like it flips its polarity and then it turns its light away from us. There's a lot of this talk in many of the cosmologies I've read up on, so it's not, you know, that crazy. You might think that I'm sort of stretching it, but that's how it's always been presented. They are one and the same, and that's what it's showing here. You know, sun and the moon. You know, one's dielectric, one's magnetic. The sun's magnetic, pulsates. That's what Pierluigi Gina says. He says the sun is a heart. It has a heart in it, which beats at the same rate as human being, and that there's two energies: earth energy and solar energy. Solar energy is right turning, received by the earth, returned, left turning. And in between that field is where all theatre, all matter is produced. Here, along this plane. This is the material realm here. It's here. All of this is transcendental energy. It's an energy field. This is the only terra firma. This is the theatre of Earth. And so you see source, mother, father, God. As the father, that's the mother. Motion and rest. Co-eternal principles. Coexistent. What have we got here? Personal, source, monad, and then all the division between soul. Yeah, I can't see that. Shame. But see, this is what in the Jewish religion they teach. This is spirit, this is body, and then the radius is the soul. Ra, dies, means Ra, God, because it's radiating. It's a radius, and so you've got the spirit, soul, and body, and that's how you symbolize it. And that in astrology, that's the sun. The earth is like this, but with a cross in it, because of the 4 tropics in astrology. So it's all there, it's all Taurus field knowledge, it's all Taurus field wisdom. That's why you must learn the Torah. Backwards, rotate. Magnetism rotates, it moves. The dyad, the demiurge, Adam, that's where Dem is, you see? Remember? Dem, Tom, it means twin. This is the god of duality. It's a dipole. It's red and blue. That's where red shift, blue shift begins. This is the dyad.
Santos.
Yeah.
The bipolar, is that why people that are bipolar are switching too quick? Like the red shift and the blue shift is going like that back and forth, like they're not constant with it?
It's about, everyone is. It's about harnessing that energy, you know. And some people think they're crazy when they start making different drugs and they go to a doctor and then they go crazy. No one's, this mental health stuff and everything, and you need to understand astrology. That's all you need to do. Because when you do understand astrology, you can heal all things. Because there's another thing in astrology called the 4 humours: hot, cold, dry and moist. And when you go to any doctor, they should know those 4 things. If your organs are too hot or too cold, or if they're too wet or too dry. And your Chinese therapist, he looks at the tongue, says you're too hot, here are some cooling herbs, you need to cool your stomach, you need to cool your liver. You see? They work on those 4 principles. The 4 universal, we've got to be empowered. Because when depression comes, it's a cycle. If we are more empowered, we can cope with the lulls. In the Hermetic principles, you have to know the 7 principles, Hermetic principles, and one of them is the principle of rhythm, to stay balanced, you know. When things get exciting and everything goes your way, don't swing too far this way, don't stay there. Just bring yourself back just a little bit, just a notch. You've got to stay more toward the middle, you know, because otherwise you're going to get thrust over here one day. You go looking for pleasure, pain will come back. The opposite of pleasure is pain. You will always get pain. That's why this world is like that. So you need to go for the bliss. And then you don't have pleasure or pain. You have a transcendental pleasure. Material pleasure is devastating because of the pain, the opposite side of it. So let's see what else is here. So the demiurgos, public worker. So demiurgy, in philosophy, a subordinate god who fashions and arranges the physical world to make it conform to a rational and eternal ideal. The goddess Dea. Plato adapted the term, which in ancient Greek had originally been the ordinary word for craftsman, artisan. Now, me being a good Jehovah's Witness for most of my life, till I woke up, not reading the Awake magazine or the Watchtower magazine, but by being awake and escaping from the there. I remember this, talking about Jesus. Then I was beside him, a master workman. That's the demiurge. That's what I've always said. Jesus is the demiurge. Christ is the source God. Christ is the source. Jesus and Christ are two different entities. You can learn that just by reading one scripture. In Matthew chapter 23, I think it's 11, where Jesus, speaking to his disciples, says, "Call no one on this earth your teacher, for one is your teacher, the Christ." So Jesus speaking of Christ as in the third person, because it is the third person. Christ means Christos, the light, the black light. Christ, Krishna means black. Okay? Cryptic, hidden. So Christ means black light. That's why you always see black Jesus. You see that black people say, "Oh, Jesus was black," and he was. But then there's white Jesuses, because it's this. Christ has two colours, black and white.
After the crucifixion.
Same with the Madonna, black and white, black Madonna. It's black light. It's the source light. White light is the false light. It moves. Black light rests. It is the source. You see, when a guitar is sitting there quietly, it doesn't make a noise yet. But when you twang, you pull that string, and you see it waving, now it's and it returns back to rest. Everything comes from rest. It's the source. Rest means crest, means Christ. Christ means black, resting light. That's why at the top of the sine wave you have a crest, because the energy seems to stop. It rests always at wave amplitude. And it seems to go faster as it goes through there. It's a crest. And black light is Christ, which is to rest. So, the dyad, so yeah, there you go. So, see, that's why they're Christian Greek scriptures. In the Christian Greek scriptures, Pythagoras and Plato called the demiurge the craftsman. In the Bible, well, although that's, that's Hebrew scriptures. But anyway, it's in the Bible. Craftsman. Jesus, the demiurge, this torus field, that's Jesus. He said, Christ is in that. This is the Jesus, the soul. That's the spirit. Ram, the Rama, that's the Jesus. That's the soul. Soul is different to the spirit. Spirit is one, can never be divided. Soul is sevenfold, 7 chakras, like the rainbow. So, and body is 12. So 1, 7, 12. For Pythagoreans, the generation number series was related to objects of geometry as well as cosmogony. According to Dionysius Laertius, from the monad evolved the dyad. From it, numbers, points, then lines, 2-dimensional entities, 3-dimensional entities, bodies, culminating in 4 elements: earth, water, fire, air, from which the rest of our world is built up. There's the Trinity now. This is it, guys. RGB. How many times have you been saying that? It's red shift, blue shift, green energy. It is, that's why Christmas is always blue. It's the loving side of red shift, blue shift. The devil's always red. The Hulk's green. Cyrus is green. St. Patrick is green. There's your, you see? Yeah. This is converging. This is converging. And from the same point, there's divergence. It's a pump. Red shift, blue shift, everywhere. There's the plane of inertia, there's the torus field. 2 becomes 3. There's the 3-headed Trinity God. The Christian doctrine of the Trinity, triad, trinus, threefold, holds that God is one God, the 3 co-eternal, consubstantial persons, or hypostases. The Father, the Son, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit has one God in 3 divine persons. It's the atom. It's the neutron, the proton, the electron, my word, dielectricity is the neutron, the proton is magnetism, and the electron is electricity. L. There's no other way. Sometimes different views are referred to non-Trinitarian. Trinitarianism contrasts with positions such as bi-Trinitarianism, one deity with two persons or two deities. It's all about electricity. They're all confused. They're clueless that science is theology. It's the other side of the coin. Clueless. They've made a market, like Jesus when he cleaned out the temple. They're making a market out of theology. They're dumbing people right down, making it all literal rather than literary. As the Bible says, the Word of God is like a two-edged sword. It can divide spirit from soul, which is impossible. They are forever twins, but that's what the Bible can do, because it's piercing truth. But people don't understand the truth, because they don't understand this. It's based on all this. This is it. So, gamma is backwards for magnetism. It's gamma rays. This is the G in the Freemasonic. It's magnetism, gamma rays. And then you've got alpha and beta. I see red shift, blue shift. And this is the longitudinal wave, magnetism. So blue sky, red earth, green Midgard. Yeah, those are the three letters there. Alpha, beta, and gamma. Alpha, beta, and gamma. Tetrad. So this is God. These are the four cardinal points. The swastika. You see? It's beautiful to see the Big Dipper in California at night, in the north. It's beautiful. 7 stars of the Big Dipper. The bark of Ra, the bark of Osiris, Noah's Ark. It's the boat. This is the boat, the Big Dipper. So it looks like a ladle, and it just goes around. And when it's here, it's spring. When it's here, it's summer. When it's, yeah, you'll see it. That's the North Pole, Polaris, and it's the Big Dipper, and that's because it's in a Taurus field. You're looking up at a Taurus field. When you look at Polaris, you're looking at pole, the bowl, all the stars, the sun, all these, what you see as spheres because of the optical illusion, the curve of the eyes, they're holes of light, points of light, holes in counter space, bringing us information. That's why we adore the angels, the stars. That's what the angels are. Bringers of light. So you've got the plane of inertia, and then you've got the hourglass, the vortex. This is how Walter Russell does it. You see? Plane of inertia. And all around Europe, I've toured a bit in Europe, all the cathedrals, they always have the four fixed signs. In the Bible, God has the face of a man, an eagle, a bull, and a lion. Now, it's obvious, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, the fixed signs, where all the seasons are in the middle, fixed. These are the, people who are stable, kind of fixed in their ways. And that's it. Jehovah, Yod, He, Vah, the 4 elements: fire, air, earth, water. And that's the top of the vortex. It's rotating. That's the true way of doing it. See, and here is Aries, Taurus, Cancer, Gemini. It's a wave.
It's really cool.
This is scratching the surface, guys. You can imagine it's when you go as deep as I have down this, then you can talk like without notes. I haven't had I don't use notes. Just it's there. So easy for me because I've gone to the end of this science and this is conclusive. That's why I'd love help to get a lot of this stuff out. These opportunities are good because I can share. But this is what the Egyptians said about Atum. I am the one that transforms into 2. I am the one that transforms into 4. I am 4 that transforms into 8. After this, I am 1. So that's easy to explain, It's the monad becomes the dyad, and then let's explain it this way.
Hey Santos, when the global elite send their kids to Switzerland for their private studies, whatever, are they learning any of this stuff?
They're learning something akin to this stuff. It's inverted.
An inverted aspect.
They're using how to abuse this science, not use it.
Right.
We are learning white magic, magnetism.
Magnetism.
This is direct
And
knowledge.
they're learning,
Yep.
and they're learning.
You will have more power and magic than them when your purity aligns with the worthiness of that power. But you'll get power from this knowledge. This will empower you. Yeah, it makes you very, very powerful. You don't whimp around, you have direction, you stand for something or fall for everything. So I am the one that becomes 2, that becomes 4, that becomes 8 with the cross quarter days. We always put those in. So May the 1st, May Day, Halloween, November the 1st. Cross quarter day, right in the middle of the fixed season. May the 1st, August the 1st, February, Groundhog's Day, and Lockmass Day. Halloween, Maypole, this is May, and they have a Maypole there in Taurus, and the Jews read the Torah. This is what's going on. So the 4 become 8. After that, I become 1 again.
Which is 9?
The serpentine atum, that's interesting. Yeah, serpentine means the sine wave, the serpent. Yeah, it's the sine wave, and atum is that.
What is it? Atom?
Atom is the sine wave. It's everything. It's the atom. It holds the monad, the diode, the tetrad, and
What is that?
they're all in it. So these are the gods Belus and Tammuz. Tammuz is Atum and Belus is Bel. The hyperbola, and we get the words belly and tummy. This is your Baal and your Tum. See where these words come from? Everywhere you go, you'll bump into the 3 words. Atum, Tor, and Bull. Now that you're looking for it. Oh no, this is not the presentation I was. Okay, I know where I am now. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here. I will let those flash on the screen. Till I come to something I want to show you. There you go, Kabbalah. Kabbalah means cube, and Allah is ball, Allah, the ball. It's how to square a circle. And it's about, this is the circle, the torus field, and the square, according to Walter Russell, is in counter space. So in every torus field is encased by a cube. That's why all these religions are using cubes. The Kaaba at Mecca, it's a cube because that's spiritual energy in counter
They're
space.
turning.
Yeah, and the torus field is encased in a cube.
So it's
Because-
trapped, right?
Yeah,
Is that
it needs
the foundation.
Yeah, that's
the
like
columns, the pillars,
yeah,
the rods.
I'm looking for the word, but the vehicle for the torus field to be able to have expression.
So that'd be the
Time, space.
Merkaba type
Yeah.
deal.
That's how it's explained, really. It's like the tesseract, the hypercube.
That's what bonds us.
Yeah, so it's like the torus field will be like this, and then it will sort of come down to a cube like this. So it's like a tesseract, and these are points.
So it keeps us trapped in there then. In order for us to release
Yeah,
out of there.
that's Satan.
That's why they do the hex,
Square.
like the Star David. It turns into the cube and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
The war between Satan and Jesus. This is the sphere. Jesus, the torus field, is a sphere. It's spherical, but it's trapped by a cube in counter space.
That makes sense.
See? And that cube, it's all about the 2 numbers. There's a masculine cube of creation and a feminine one.
Wow. The feminine sphere. She's the sphere.
No.
No.
They're both cubes.
Oh.
One has 8 and one has 27, like the Rubik's Cube. It's got 27 cubes on it, right?
And that's where they get the alphabet, like
The alphabet, all around
because
27.
it's the 27 letters.
You get a tetrahedron, which is the fire polyhedra, and then you get smaller, fractal to scale. You will fit 27 in it of the same shape, 27 tetrahedron.
Yeah, that's how I'm able to do my geometry, my sacred geometry drawings that I do. Is that I fit those circles inside and it creates the.
And how it does it, I will illustrate right now while I'm talking about this. I probably should. Let's do that. So what we have is 1 that becomes 8 is the feminine cube. And it goes back to the number 2. So you've got 2, 4, 8, and then you've got the masculine cube based on 3. 3, 9, 27. So you will go like like the Rubik's Cube will have 3. Alright, that's it. That's the masculine cube, 27, based on 9. And then your other one is the feminine one, based on 2, division and doubling. See, odd numbers, they don't divide very well. It's hard to split evenly 3 things, 3 apples between 2 people. So that's why with the feminine principle, there's so much polarity. There's doubling, which everyone wants, and then division, which everyone doesn't want. And that's this one here. And those, according to the Neoplatonists, these are how the cubes work. That's why there are 27 letters in all alphabets. English has 27 letters. The ampersand was taken out.
So is it like the masculine, the 27 is like a principle? You can't, like, once you narrow it down, you can't divide it anymore. And then the feminine, it's like the 10,000 things, all the thoughts, all the. It's like it could keep on expanding, or you can.
It's the 5.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
as it goes out, the next one is 64, right? If you get the next cube, that'll be 64, yeah? I think, but wait a minute, no, 54, I think. So this is Pythagoras' number, 27. Because if you expand this, you've got 54, then double 54 is 108.
And they all equal 9, right?
108 beads in the Krishna thingies, or 54 in the Catholic Hail Mary beads and rosary beads. So and 54 and 108 is double is 216, and that double is 432. 432 hertz. So this is Pythagorean. This is all Pythagorean. And this is where the 432 hertz comes from. It goes back to 9. That number, universal number, 9. See? Always.
Do you explain anything like on music and how it makes you feel, and then how it plays certain tones will make you like drop your vibration, go to red shift?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we're going to do some question and answers now, I think, and then I'm going to hit the astrology. So we're going to go straight to that.
What instrument?
Guitar
Guitar. Classical.
and harmonica.
Accused
Both.
Both.
Yeah. Nylon string. Nicely.
Oh.
So yeah, let's do that. All right.
I get how this knowledge has always been around, but I don't really know how to explain it to people. Like, where did the ancients get it? Like, who taught this stuff? Is it original to the ancients?
Evidence is that we all just had it. It's in they left it in stone monuments all around the world. always there. Wherever I went around the world, I would see 12, 7s, the astrological signs. It's always there.
That was common knowledge back in those days, right? Like,
Was it
We
always
were more conscious. We knew how energy expressed itself. We put it in art. We put it in our buildings. We put it in our literature.
But was it occulted from the common man, or was it?
There wasn't a common man. You see, everyone was.
So everyone was.
The souls incarnating were a good frequency, and it was a good period called the Golden Age. But now what's happened is because there are fewer astrologers, and people don't know how to reproduce properly and to when to give birth to their children at the right time, so they have better health, better mind, when to, the proper time to conceive during the month, and things like that. It was all the science. It was all based on the moon. That's why, and the planets. That's why when you get married, you have a honeymoon, because you've got to get the right moon when couples come together. You don't want to be generating a bad soul that can come in, and that's why you get black sheep in families, etc. Right? You see a beautiful family destroyed by some very, very destructive son or something that's addictive or is just destructive and hell bent on landing in jail and causing harm for others, and it comes from a beautiful family. And other times you see families that are protected from that, and no slickings, no mistakes. Depends on your karmic work, and depends on your devotion. If you take, an entheogen like LSD or something like that, and you're not holy, you can't have ayahuasca for 2. You can't have meat for 2 weeks if you're a flesh eater before you have ayahuasca, because that demon will resonate with the murdered flesh. It's not going to be a good trip. I've never had a bad trip on entheogens. I've always had the best time because I'm ready. It's holy. It's a holy thing. I don't take cannabis, for instance, which I consume regularly for feeling good, or I've got no pain. I'm perfectly healthy. I don't need. I'm not addicted. I have no addictions. Even though sometimes it looks like when I'm puffing on a spliff or a joint, that I'm exceedingly enjoying it, but I do because it makes me focus. I don't like doing things straight necessarily because it's boring. There's too much noise in this world. I want to filter it out, and cannabis has basically been the plant that has given me all the syncretism I have. And in the Bible, 5 times, God is requesting that His favorite incense be burned to Him always in the temple, cannabism. Yeah, it's the human plant. It really is. Problem is these days, people are smoking strains which are not healthy, and they're being weaponized, these strains.
What verse would that be?
Hey?
What verse? Do you remember?
Look it up. You look it up in the Bible. It'll come up on hundreds of pages. Actually, it's funny. Cannabism. Yep.
Is this the cube in the tree of life? The 2 cubes on
Yeah.
top?
Yeah. Can you see the cube there? That's a cube. That's the top corner. I mean, you got to look at it 3 dimensions.
There's 2 cubes there, right?
Yeah, there's 2 cubes. 1, 2, yeah. That's the kaba means cube, and bala means ball.
By cube.
Squaring circles. It's squares and balls. And ball is bowl, the hyperbole. Get to know the hyperbole. Go back to my YouTube channel, Mr. Astrotheology, and go to the playlist called All Is Atum, and the other ones that have ball and red in them, and red shift and blue shift. I've done countless of them, countless of presentations like this in Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, English. They're all on my channel, and they're usually always pretty different. There's hardly a repeat, and they're always different because there's so much information here. Right? Any more?
What's the meaning of an archangel? Different from an angel.
All right. What's an archangel, and what's Noah's Ark and the Ark of the Covenant? Electrical arcing. This is the Ark. Let me show you Noah's Ark. Remember I told you that the swastika was the North Polaris and the North Pole and the Big Dipper Ursa Major, which is called the Bark of Ra, or the Bark of Osiris, or Noah's Ark. Ark, these are angles, the degrees here. Angles are angels. Alright? And Noah's, here is, see, Cancer is close to the North Pole, Capricorn is close to the South Pole. Ursa Major is here. Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, there are 3 deacons in every sign. Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, and what's the 3rd deacon of Cancer? Argo. Argo is Ark. Okay, Argo, the boat. Jason's boat and the Argonauts. Jason and the Argonauts. Jason is the sun. Jar's son. Samson, the son of Shem, the sun. All the heroes of the sun. Hercules, you name it, Jesus, it's all the sun. You're the hero and it's you. And every hero from Humpty Dumpty to Jesus Christ, it's all the sun. Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, it's all the sun. So, where was I going with that?
Where would Archangel Michael be?
Okay. Argo, hold that question. Arg is Ark. Okay. Ark is bark. It's the car. The bark or the car of Ra. This is a car. The Taurus field is a car. It's arging, electrical arging. Boat is bark, yeah? The bark or the ark of Noah. Noah is the sun. How many people are on in the bark of Noah? 7 other people, yeah? His wife, 3 sons, and their wives. Well, that's the 7 refracted colours that come from Noah, the sun, when it emanates the rainbow, which is the ark of the rainbow, Ra's bow. In Spanish, arco iris, the arc of Iris. In Italian, arco baleno, the arc of Baal. It's the sun. The rainbow makes the ark. And that is the bark of Noah, the rainbow. That's why when Noah gets out of the ark, first thing he sees is God gives him a rainbow. See? Because it's showing you that Noah, the sun, like Snow White, which is the sun, has always 7 dwarves, the 7 refracted colours of the rainbow. So the hero will always have. Yep. The hero will always have, that's a good one, Shambhala. See the Bala? Where do you go to Shambhala? You go to the North Pole. Yeah? Because it's the pole, the Bala. Look for that word. That word will bless you. Bless, B-L-S. Sorry. Right. Change the camera. Right, let's stop. And culminate into something that we can take away that will be practical and that will be more than theoretical and tangible and workable in our lives, so that we can enable, expansion of consciousness and growth, and get to the place where ultimately, we know we're headed. We know we're headed. So, how we do that is we come to the science that was bequeathed to us by our very, very, very intelligent ancestors. And they taught us about this science. And what they taught was the Mazzaroth. In the Bible, it says, "Canst thou tell forth Mazzaroth?" Job 38:32. What's the Mazzaroth? It's the zodiac. So why is God asking Job, do you know how to tell it forth? What we're going to do now is we're going to set up the heavens. We're going to set up the Mazzaroth. And what it is the astrological chart. That's what it is. And you'll see how the equator of the Earth, no, I should have made that a line. Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Capricorn. This is the transverse Mercator projection, and this is what we're going to build our knowledge base on. That beautiful ecliptic, which was that divine path of the sun, Ra, the sun god. And then what I like to do, rather than have a linear graph, I like to make it a circular, stable, sort of, it's more, I don't know, more focused than having it spread out. It's the same thing. It's the sine wave. You know, it goes back into itself like the Ouroboros. This is how energy works. This is the mouth of the Ouroboros. These are the mouths. And this is how the Mazzaroth will be set up and is set up. And by the way, this is the Tropic of Cancer. Before I was talking about Argo, the ship, and I said it was Noah's Ark. Well, we know about Noah's Ark that he was asked to bring animals in twos. Well, here's two deacons of Cancer, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. Two deacons of Gemini, Canis Major, Canis Minor. In Cancer, there's an asterism with two donkeys. One is Asinellus Borealis, the northern donkey. The other one is Asinellus Australis, the southern donkey. Twins. Gemini, twins. Jason and his Argus, and Noah and his Ark, and all these animals in twins, occurs along the ecliptic in these two or three signs. And the ancients knew this. The stories were always in the ecliptic. The stories are not generated from material conceptualizations. They are first spiritual. That's why they're all the same. All the fairy tales, all the gospels. A gospel's not history. It has history embedded in it as a mechanism to pin it down to your real timeline. It's just a mechanism. It's literary. It's a gospel. It's not history. Gospel is a gospel. It's a fairy tale for adults. You can't change anything about that word. Goat spell, which in Greek is dragudi, dragos udi. Udi is ode, a song. You sing an ode to joy. And dragos is the goat. And that becomes the word tragedy, dragos udi. So when you go to the theatre, when you go to the Roman and Greek theatre for a tragedy, you know, here is Achilles and Helen of Troy, and you know, it's a tragedy. And the operas were based on tragedies, you know, all these great operas, because they're gospels. Goat spells. Everything is a goat spell. Starts at Capricorn, and that good old baby Jesus on the 25th of December must but climb, waxing, positive. The goat always starts at the bottom, always gets to the top, and looks down and loves to look down and say, I'm on the top. You'll see goats doing this all the time. They'll push their brothers out of the way to get on the top. Little Capricorn children, you'll see that my little niece Marissa, Mars is the exalting planet of Capricorn, and Saturn is the ruling planet, two malefics in Capricorn. Interesting. Mars is the ram. There's a ram and a goat in Capricorn. And never forget that the ram is in Capricorn. Mars exalts in Capricorn. So, what was the point I was getting at there? Alright, never mind, because I did get distracted. I was going to answer another question. Remember you asked about the four archangels? Let's now do that now. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You know where they are? If you know the ruling planets are the exalting planets of the cardinal signs, you'll find the four seasons. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, bless this couch that I lie on, as Manly P. Hall says, is nothing other than the four Gospels. Matthew is here, for Saturn rules exalts in Libra. Mars is here. Yeah, that's on your toilets, isn't it, that one? All the big boys exalt here. The Sun and good old Jupiter exalts in Cancer. Everyone knows that. Yeah? And Jupiter is in Cancer. It's just a beautiful thing. Matthew. Saturn is Ma'at. Matthew, the judge, the scale of Libra. It's about justice. Ma is Mars, the winter, the gospel of Mars. Luke is the sun. John is Jupiter, the God is beloved. That's the beloved one, Jupiter. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. That's how they are. They are 4 seasons. That's why the church fathers said we have 4 gospels, because there are 4 seasons. That's historical fact. You know, I'm not making any of this up. It's amazing because by enough, you know, how you can only know this if you know astrology. Because astrology teaches you where the planets exalt. As the 7 planets go around these 12 signs, they interact with each other. You see? When you come in the presence of someone, your energy fields interact, and maybe you get a good feeling, nice radiant heart, beautiful soul, or you, I don't like this person. You know? you try to keep your distance, right? Well, that's the same with the planets. This planet does not do well in Aries, and the Sun does not do well in Libra. That's Horus on the horizon. Rising. That's Set. That's sunset. The ruler of darkness, Satan. The ruler of light, Lucifer. Both deceivers, both teachers, great teachers. This one teaches you to learn extrovertedly with your eyes. As Proclus said, Plato said, the eyes need a third thing for them to work. Hearing is direct. Noise is direct. You don't need anything else. But our eyes need the sun. They are dependent on the sun. Or light, which is symbolized by the sun. So the eyes need a third thing, and that's the sun. This guy here, he shuts out the light. Cain and Abel, Pollux and Castor, and he's black light. He's the other god, Satan, that teaches you to go within. This is why they don't like Satan in the church, because he teaches occult things.
And that would be Saturn.
Saturn, yeah. Set. Sunset.
And why do the elite worship Saturn or El?
Horus and Set. Well, because
Is that the true? And they try to deceive us with the other?
no, they're harvesting the negative energy of Saturn. Saturn is both positive and negative. They're harvesting only the negatives. Now they manipulate magnetism.
So that's black
and the same
magic.
with the sun. They don't always just only harvest the negative energy.
Got it.
You see? And they manipulate it. It's electrical manipulation. And
Well,
probably magnetic as well. I'm sure they know about magnetic.
So that's magic, right?
Magic.
Manipulating energy.
Yeah. And that's the only 2 energy expressions in the universe. Electricity and magnetism. One spiritual.
So they want us to worship El, right?
Yeah.
Not-
that's why they
not
made the
mag.
L electrical grid.
I got it.
To keep us imprisoned by L.
Yeah. Controlled by El.
And rather than resonating in the heart, radiating, not vibrating, noisy mind, noisy liver, thought waves, emotion waves, demons, archetypes, egregores that you create. You create all kinds of havoc for yourself. I did it to myself. I've been through virtually 10 years of torture by entities, parasites, itching, sleepless deprivation, and yet I put out my best syncretism, which started in 2011. The torture started years back, but it got worse in the last decade through parasites, which I've cleansed by doing the fenbenzidol dog dewormer and ivermectin horse dewormer protocol. They are both in the same protocol, but taken separately, and you do it for 3 months. And I haven't itched for 3 months. And I've had shamanic healing. Naomi here, who's done this, she's also done a healing for me, which was massive the week after I got here. I had 1 sleepless week of jet lag, And then eventually Naomi came to visit and did her magical healing and removed entities still, which I thought I'd left in Australia with shamanic healing. So you've got to do these two things. You have to be cleared. You need to go to someone that will clear you. You can do it yourself with, maintenance-wise, regularly with, sage and burning things and doing all bell ringing and cleansing the air and cleansing your aura field, going out into the sun, like Akhenaten taught, and put his palms up to the sun. Why your palms? Well, as I said before, it rotates your magnetic field. In a man, the positive rays come through here and go back to the sun. In a woman, it goes the other way around. And what they do is you charge your magnetic field and you make it wholly, no more holes.
But you also
repair the holes.
need the ground with the
Barefoot all the time, staring at the sun, sol invictus, adoring the sun. You got to get out in the sun, because that's Lucifer.
And the tongue to the roof of the mouth?
Yeah, tongue to the roof of the mouth, fingers, depends what you want. Fire, air, earth, or water. Which element do you want? Or you can have all five in your mudra. And, you can even do lam, lam, ram, yam, hum, om. Or you can sing to the Navagraha, which is the 9 planets. Surya Chandraya, Mangalaya, Buddhaya Cha, Guru Shukra Shanicharaya, Rahave Ketave Namaha. So they've got Surya, Sun, Chandraya, Moon, Mangalaya, Mars, as the days of the week go. Mangalaya, Buddhaya, Buddha is Mercury, Wednesday. Guru is Jupiter. Shukra is the sweet Venus. Shanicharaya is Saturn. And then Rahave Ketave, Rahu and Ketu, the 9. It's called Navagraha. So you can do these chantings and you watch what happens.
So that mantra will activate something.
Well, Lam is, Lam is the bottom chakra. You start with the Lamb of God. Vam, the sacral. Ram, R-A-M, solar plexus, the Ram. Yam, Y-A-M, which translates as I am. Hum, where you hum from your throat chakra, humming, H-U-M, H-A-M, and Om, and Kronos, the crown chakra, is silent. So you leave a gap. So when I go walking in the forest every day, I do lam, vam, ram, yam, hum, om, silence. Lam, vam, ram. I walk up the hill, right, and you energize as you go up the hill. When you go down, then you bring that energy back down, relaxing again, while walking up and down hills. And so you can do all those things.
So it's the
you've
raising
gotta-
of the vibration.
And the sun enables it. The sun is the
And the
enabler,
sound.
it's the saviour.
And the sound.
It is, no one goes to the Father except through the Son. You must go through that portal. That's why Christians were called heliognostics, knowers of the sun. And the palm is an anagram for lamp. This is where it gets tricky. The Lamb of God, in Revelation 21, it says, and the city shall not need a sun, for the Lamb shall be its lamp. So, palm is lamp. And lamp is lamb. Lamb is balm. Bale. Balsamic, balm. Balm is for healing, yeah? Right? It's from bale. And so, in Greek, lambos is light. Okay? The word I said before, haralambos, Harry, means hare, light, lambos, light. What a beautiful name, haralambos, which in English will be called Harry. Lambos, it's the Lamb of God. The Lamb shall be its lamp. That lamp is the Lamb of God. That's why it's called Sri Rama, the Ram.
So light and sound? Is that balm, sound?
Well, this is why you are in your palms receives the lamp of God, or the Lamb of God. It's a balm. As long as you're creating a circuit and grounded barefoot, don't wear shoes. Oh my! I walk on the stones. I walk on everything barefoot. March through it, bang, bang, bang. I walk with a sister, who had sandals, hemp sandals, which is okay, but
And on grass and dirt, not concrete, right? Or it doesn't matter.
there's a dirt road now.
Yeah, it doesn't
This is
matter.
all
though.
kinds of forest.
Now, if I'm at my house, I'm not wearing shoes. I'm not going to get the same
Mm.
because I'm not on grass. I mean, you still get the same energy or no?
Grass is good, but it's different.
Yeah, yeah.
Stones are more energizing. Grass is more relaxing, but they're all good because they suck up the negative ions.
But not concrete is
Pretty
what I'm
much.
saying. Like if I'm walking on the sidewalk barefoot, I mean, it's not going to give
Some
you the
people-
same as grass or dirt.
It's calcium in concrete, isn't it? I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Stones, anything, walk on it.
Yeah, because sometimes I don't step on the grass in case it's like, I don't know, wet or whatever. I don't know. I'm
Right.
outside my backyard. I'm just
Right.
like, I'll stand on this concrete.
Yeah.
And
But
maybe-
grass is relaxing.
Okay,
It's-
got it.
it's healing in that way.
All right, thank you.
Whereas when you're walking on dirt, now, that's how I got healed.
Uh-huh.
You know, I did a 62-day fast between in Aries and Taurus of this year, and I went down from what I am now. I'm still overweight, 123 pounds. Normally I'm 140.
So 62-day water fast or?
Yeah, liquid fast.
Wow.
Teas, broths.
Like bone broth?
Juices.
Do you do bone broth? I
Nothing
mean,
solid.
no bone broth.
No, I'm vegan.
Okay, so bone broth would be non-vegan.
Yeah. Remember, in this science, vegetarianism is absolutely crucial. Not necessarily veganism, but the Egyptians would not allow you to enter the mystery school, to go back to heaven, if you weren't two things. Astrologically already equipped to do transits, to that stage where you can do transits, and vegetarian. No animals. It's a blood addiction.
Well, I just heard after you fast, a good way to get your nutrients back is through bone broth.
I know,
Yeah.
but still to me, there's no blood in it.
What
All
would you
flesh has
what would
blood.
you recommend after a fast to start?
Hey, I've been vegetarian for probably 11 years now, and people say, "Oh, you need to be this and that," you know.
So your
And whole
veggie
foods.
juice, and your fruit juice.
Juices are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, whole foods. Eat apples. Pears, eat them. Fruit is absolutely the best. We're frugivores.
Yeah, I noticed you don't even need
We're
to
nothing
like
other
brush
than-
your teeth if you eat apples every day. Not that I don't brush my teeth.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah.
Absolutely makes you very, very healthy. Remember, these are apples.
Uh-huh.
Apple means Apollo, the sun god, or Saturn. It's always these two. Boring. So, what was the point then? What
I think that just the grounding and the sun.
yeah, the sun. Okay, so it's all about this god Baal, you know, and the palms that are the tree which symbolises the light in spring. My mother was born on 2 days after me on the 26th of March. She was born on Palm Sunday. Her name is Palmina, the Sunday of Easter.
So they knew.
Before.
They knew.
Yeah, well, of course. I teach this to my family who are, you know, not well. They love my work.
Were you initiated into this, or just self-taught?
I'm self-initiated in everything.
And I'll be done. Got
In everything. So, but all my family won't do things like this. But there it is. It's a holy name. They're all holy names. All your names are holy, and they all go back to the sun. All of them. I don't care whether you're called Arthur or Martha. They are all the sun. The hero is the sun. You will be the sun. You are Jesus. We are all Jesus. The gospel is the story of us. It's the model of the ideal being. The golden rule: do unto others as you wish they would do to you. You know? Love your neighbour as you do yourself. Forgive your enemies. You know? This is all the ideal individual. It's a model. It's not a literal man.
I'm sorry, one last. So would the sun be our father? Literally, like we would be the siblings of the sun.
Yeah, the sun is, well, it is our father, but it's the son of the father.
And which would be Polaris would be our source, or like of all.
In Chinese acupuncture, Polaris is right here. It's right here.
Yeah.
I was taught that by an acupuncturist to do a lot of studies.
So that's a crown.
So yeah, well, there's a North Pole. It's the North Pole. You see?
It's Polaris. Yeah.
What you're seeing, when you see the cosmos, remember that man is the measure of the universe, and man is the model of the universe. That is the man, woman.
Mm-hmm.
Interchange. Okay, so that is it. That is atom, Adam, and even, the phallic and the uterus. Okay, you look at a picture of the uterus, what does it look like? A torus with horns. And thanks, Danielle, you were saying before about the torus field, it's because the horns of the bull. Can you see it?
Yeah.
You can see everything here. The horns of the ram, you can see the twins, you can see the crab, you can see Leo, you can see the scales of justice here. It's all here. This is the only science you need to learn to reach all understanding of universal knowledge. And then, of course, the ultimate goal is to raise the Christic fluids. And there's a 12-year process whereby, with white tantric sex, a 13th vertebrae is developed and generated in the cranium, which is the Christ seated on his throne with his 12 disciples. When you develop that, then you have all access to that field of knowledge called the Akashic Records, and you will always know and have access to direct knowledge. That will always be with you. But see how important sex is, for instance. Everything is being inverted. Pure sex on the right is to transmute and ascend through the sexual process with your love partner. Promiscuity on the left-hand path, is the opposite of purity, and it brings you down the path of ascension. And in the middle, they've given you a third option, which is celibacy, which in this science, the true science, not science of Mayavadis, which are false teachers, this is stagnancy, because they're not using that gift from God, the sexual energy, to transmute it. Because the fluids that come from the cerebrum and end up being the reproductive fluids of both man and woman, those are the materials by which, when they are elevated back again, the 13th cranial nerve will be developed. It needs the materials. See? So celibacy, you go nowhere. See? So that's why God gave us a gift that we would enjoy. But we're not to enjoy it lustfully. We're to enjoy it transcendentally. It's another level.
It's like a merging.
It has to be pure.
With the
because-
twins.
Yeah, you have to be faithful to each other for 12 years, because the man is responsible for activating the woman, and the woman is responsible for activating her partner.
Yeah, it's electric.
They depend on each other for salvation.
Great.
That's how you get saved, the twin flames. So I've inserted that in here because that's the ultimate goal, to develop this 13th cranial nerve. It's the development of our human nervous system which sets us apart from the animals. Animals, according to, well, I learned this from Manly P. Hall, have 5 chakras. They don't have these higher 2, indigo and violet. So they can't have this special God consciousness that we have, which is individualized. So they're more sort of a group consciousness. But the point is, we still are underdeveloped, and our nervous system is being attacked daily, chemtrails, vaccinations. It's the nervous system that suffers, and people don't go out in the sun, and then what happens is the nervous system gets weaker and weaker. You're not charging your magnetic field, then the mind slows down, dementia, the nervous system is attacked already with vaccines, thimerosal, formaldehyde, mercury, etc., and it's causing harm and havoc. And the nervous system is the tree of life. It must be healthy. Healthy through sexual practices, it's healthy through eating. It has to be that you've got to start with the body. First you start with the body, and then you ascend. These people have these beautiful ascension things. They don't last long if their bodies are full of parasites. Eventually they go back to the depravity, to learn again, because they haven't done it really properly. Right? So, it'll happen. It happens to us. We climb it and then we get a setback. But if we, practice our things in purity, then that's the ultimate goal. And astrology enables that. Right? So let's go back to that. And let's see how the chart comes from what we've learned today about the sine wave and the ecliptic. Because this is the Mazaroth. This is it. So, interesting enough, this is the Tropic of Cancer, and here we have the sign of Cancer. Here we have the Tropic of Capricorn, and that's the sign Capricorn. It all turns up. That's because in June and July, behind the sun is the stars, the constellation of Cancer. Because the sun is always, the ecliptic is running in the middle of the zodiac belt. The zodiac belt is 18 degrees wide, 18 is a significant number, and the ecliptic goes like this through that belt, that it never leaves the belt. The only other sign, Ophiuchus, one or two of the stars of Ophiuchus are inside that belt, but apart from that, there's only 12 signs. That's why they want to add Ophiuchus. They're saying, oh, NASA said there's a 13th sign and it's called Ophiuchus. Well, that's what NASA says. NASA is the deceiver. Okay, there's 12 signs and there always will be. There is a 13th system, yes, but it's lunar. This is the solar system, and it's the sun that is the savior, not the moon. Okay? Salvation comes through the sun, not the moon. Remember that, because the rishis say you can go to the moon, you can go to Venus, they are places to live. They are places to live. The true portal is the sun. No one goes to the Father except through me, the Son. So what we find now is that
The sun is Jesus.
the sun is actually Jesus, and Christ also back of the sun. The true light is Christ behind that sun. All the mythologies, the Mithraic, the Zoroastrian, Christian, all taught this, the three suns. The suns we see, the soul of the sun, the spirit of the sun.
The 12 apostles would be each of them signal.
It's electricity, magnetism, and electricity. Rest assured. That's what it is. Remember that Trinity. It's going to say it. Oh boy. It's going to be so handy. So what we see then is we've got the four cardinal points. Here is Libra. And what happens, it gets very interesting, Aries, when we flip over to the Jewish system. And here we have Tammuz. Tammuz is, Tammuz, the god of the T. See your body? Your anatomy is in the shape of a T. It's your tomb, which comes from your mother's womb, a la Plato. From Soma to Sema, from womb to tomb. And that's the tomb. Okay? Our anatomy is where light has settled to create this body of light. So Tammuz, Tishri, and any Jewish scholars here, what's Capricorn, please? I think it's Tevet. I just can't remember. This one's the one. Nisan. Aha. Yeah. Okay. So what we have here in some of the Jewish names is we can see an amazing link up with the astrological signs. Tammuz, that's a real big giveaway. That's Thomas, and it's the atom, right? 21st of December, directly opposite Thomas, is guess what? In the liturgical year, Saint Thomas Day. On the solstice here. Have you ever heard someone say to hell and Tommy? I think it might be more English Australian, this one. It's going to send him to hell and Tommy. Yeah? Not in America? Okay. Well, that's hell and St. Thomas's Day. You see, what it shows, and in Latin, that becomes domus or dominus. The Lord. Adam. Do you know what the book of Enoch says is the name of the son? One of the names? Thomas. The other name is Oarges, something like that. But Thomas. See, I always knew this. I always know that the son is Adam. It's Tommy. Has to be Adam. You are Adam. In Hebrew, Adam means red. It's redshift. But the earth is Adama. Red earth. Red blood. You see? Adam and Adama. Of course Adam is the sun, it's the earth, it's you, it's the atom. It's every model. You now have the model. You now have the torus field model with the hyperbola, which is the model, the system to know all fields of knowledge. You'll master astrology. This is how you'll master astrology. In the astrological chart, there's always a wheel like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to remember this is the year, but it's also the day. You remember that, don't you? Okay? So here is, in astrology, there's always what's called the ascendant here, the rising sign. Here is also always the midheaven, MC, medium coelum. Here is the DC, the descendant. Yeah, you see how now all of my astrotheology teachings, all of them, they put this 24-hour clock around here, and they always then transform seamlessly into the astrological chart. And this is what they don't want you to know. This is the astrological chart unfurling before your eyes. And now when you look at your chart, you will see, aha, I'm going to get this. This is the east, this is the west. When you look in the east and the sun's rising, that's the rising sign. My rising sign is Leo. When I was born, the astrologer would look over there. What's the sign that's coming? Because remember, everything is moving. The ecliptic is moving 30 degrees every 2 hours. So it's a big portion of the sky. Sun, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock sets. Those are great chunks of sky, that chunk of arc. So when the sun, that sign that is rising when you're born, that's called your ascendant, your rising sign. This is very important to know because it's the most powerful sign. Think about it. The whole sky, the etheric field and the ecliptic are coming towards you. Coming towards you. Here, everything is setting, it's going away from you. The magnetism, that energy, that frequency. So that's why in the morning you get the morning sun. That's when you get a lot of healing. Because it's coming toward you. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So in astrology then, they give this, and this is 6 a.m. This is 12, just like a 24-hour military clock. The astrological chart is a 24-hour clock. That's what it is. Here is 6 p.m. Remember sunset, there's set. And this is how the ecliptic and natural science transforms into natural astrology. Right? See, I like being a diviner. The churchgoers, they don't like diviners. Because I like what's divine.
Divine. Maybe need that.
Right? And they're cursing the diviners. Well, you don't go to those diviners. Sure, there's bad doctors, there's bad diviners, there's bad judges, there's bad police. The Bible even God calls his own people bad. You're rotten fruit. Okay. Well, sorcerer. They're not good, are they? Sauce. I was going to write salsa. Oh.
You're accessing the source.
False. Yes. That's not even right, is it? Oh man, I'm embarrassed. Alright, so, but anyway, you get the point? And how does this enable you to divine? How does astrology enable you to divine? Well, you think about it, right? If you know that all of these signs bring about certain energies, some bring mental activity, some bring love, some bring material prosperity, And then you know that the 7 planets going around transiting in them, they also are active agents, whereas the signs are passive, patients of nature. The active agents, the 7 planets, they are interacting, and Mars will bring what? Activity. Because Mars is masculine, it's the phallic. On the toilet door there's always that phallic sign. Venus is the feminine sign. So Venus will bring tranquil leisure, and Mars will bring activity. So let's say Mars is transiting Capricorn. What do we know about Capricorn? Climbers, successful, practical, masons, workers, sensual. So Mars transiting Capricorn, you might find that someone might have a 10th house career move, a heroic acknowledgement, and gets promoted. You'll find that this is how it works. You know what Mars brings. You know what the sign, the conditions of the sign, and what its archetypes are. And then when they transit each other and come together, you know something will happen. And astrologers know this because they can do the transits into the future and they can see all the events. I've done this countless times in my chart readings with people where I say, give me the date when your cat died. Give me the date, because they're talking about something in the past. Go back to that date, put it in the transits, bang. It's right there all the time. You can go backwards or forwards because those planets, it's a mechanism, it's a clockwork. And that clockwork is based on energy, see, and how it interacts. You see, another thing, there's 90 degrees between Jupiter and Saturn, and that's called a square. If Saturn were here, that would be a trine. That's 90 degrees, that's 120 degrees. These are benefic, these are malefic. So if you see on that day that something bad happened, what you would label as bad, you'll find that squares or oppositions straight through 180 degrees, those aspects were occurring on that day. Promotions, success, love, you'll find that probably Jupiter is trining with a sexy Venus, and you stumble onto some love. You go back into transit, and I've found this countless times. It's infallible. The only fault with astrology is the astrologer. They are failing it. That's why they're condemned in the Bible, not astrology. Jesus condemned lawyers, he wasn't condemning the law. He came to fulfill the law. So when the Bible condemns astrologers, it's not condemning astrology. Job was encouraged to learn the Mazzaroth, which we are learning. So we are learning now the seasons of the year and how to tell forth Mazzaroth. But that's a yearly thing. We need to focus on the 24-hour day cycle now, because both are in there. But when you understand the day, then you'll work out how this works. So here is the IC, the opposite of the MC. And this is how it works. If this is the day, obviously everything, this is the day half, this is the night half. This is the AM half on the left. This is the PM half. Where do you get AM and PM from? From this line. It's called the meridian. And this one, as I was saying before, this line here never moves. These cusps here, they vary in a variable house system, but that never moves, and it's called the line of the earth. Because this will be, the rising sign will be your earth sign. And you will look like that sign because it will, my rising sign is Leo, it's the feline. And for how many times I've been told growing up that my animal is a cheetah. I'm a cheetah. People see that. Well, because my rising sign is Leo, the cheetah, the cat. Aries is the sun sign. You'll also see that in the face, the sun and the rising sign. But when you're born during the day, the sun sign is more prominent. So Aries is more prominent. If I were born at night, and the sun is down here from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., people are called nocturnal. Then their rising sign is stronger, this sign here. And the rising sign gives you your body, it's your personality, your lower vehicle that you are transacting in the worldly plane in. And people see you as, people will see me as leader. So if I walk in a room, there's a cat, you know, they'll see leader, your ascendant sign. And then they get to know your higher purpose, which is your sun sign. And that's why that is so important in the East. And when you understand this, you'll realise that all these cusps represent the clock. Here will be 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. I've got to do this nice, eh? Come on. 10, be nice. 12, 2, I can do it. 6, 8, 10, 12, no, I should be going 10, 12, I should have gone 14. Yeah, let's do it this way. 1400. Yep, 16. I'll leave that 6 there though. Anyway, you get the idea. 18, 20, 22 and 24. That's the astrological wheel. That is it. It's a 24-hour clock. So, what you have here now, forget about those signs I was telling you, there's Aries, there's Taurus. Wipe that. Now, what you have here are the 10 houses. In astrology, you'll always see these 12 wedges. They're not always 30 degrees in a variable house system, but in an equal house system, they will always be 30 degrees, like the signs are always 30 degrees. I use unequal house system, Placidus system, so the only line that stays always like that is that line there, and the MC, this line here, is always going like that, depending on the latitude of the individual where they're born, and depending on the rising sign at the time of their birth, where that MC will be. But these are the 12 houses, and they'll always look like this. Sometimes, you know, some will be bigger and smaller than others. Don't worry about that. Remember, there will be 6 under that line and 6 houses above, and they are 1, 2, 3, thusly numbered anti-clockwise. The signs are on the outside, the zodiac signs, and the houses are on the inside. They're all going anti-clockwise in their yearly direction. They're all travelling this way, but daily they are like mice on a treadmill. They are being turned. The treadmill is going this way, the clock is going this way. So, if you were born, let's say you were born at 7 o'clock in the morning, there's 6, there's 8. Your sun, this is when people say, my sun is in the 12th house. Because remember, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you know that you can tell where a person's sun is if you ask them what time they're born. I was born between 6 and 8, well then you know their sun is going to be in the 12th house, because that will, the ascendant will always represent daybreak. Always in the chart of the individual. And is that a good house to have your sun in? Most certainly not. Because when you flip back to the other chart where I had the signs in here, that's the energy of Aries. It's too strong. And it's cardinal fire, it's explosive. So you see how the signs are going this way along the ecliptic and the houses are going backwards. And what's happening is you see the nature of the time you were born. This will be, many people will have health issues with the sun in the 12th house. It's the weakest house. It's the last house. It's cadent. It's very misfortunate for health, for all kinds of things. So this is why an astrologer was always present to make sure the child was born in this beautiful, very, very lucky house, the 11th house, which is so benefic for the health, and the 10th house as well, and also the 9th house. So they would have, you see, for the health of the individual, they would have tried to have the sun, the woman, the midwives would help her to breathe, to wait, and escape this period. Sun in the first house is good too. It's good here.
That's in the morning, right?
It's not good here. The chart of many unfortunate people have the sun in the sixth house after sunset. For instance, John Lennon, Michael Jackson, I think, yeah. Some tragic end of life for certain ones with the sun. It is very misfortunate, this axis. That's why Firmicus Maternus says, pray that the querent has no planets in the 12th house, the 6th house, the 2nd and the 8th. Just pray that they don't, and hopefully they've got most of their planets up here, here, here. This is very lucky, this one. This is your beautiful lucky houses, very fortunate the 5th. I'll put that in blue, and then this is a very unlucky one. Now, I won't go deeper into this, but just know that some houses are better than other houses.
How about the 12? After 12, when it falls? After midnight? Down the top.
The sun's not bad all through these houses. Probably the worst one would be that Caden one.
That's the death, right?
Well, no, it's just the 3rd house. See, in astrology, the 1st house is always cadent because it's angular. It's pinned to the 4 tropical points of the day: morning, afternoon, evening, and night. So,
Let's talk about that one.
one minute. Just so, if that's the case, then every 1st house is called angular, and then succeedent and cadent. Cadent means to fall. The angular houses, they are the most fortunate houses. They bring more things, good things, more, activity. Because remember the nozzle? These are like, remember we did cardinal, fixed, mutable? Well, that was for the signs. This is now angular, succeedent, and cadent. Cadent is very weak. This always starts with strong, mid-strength, weak. Strong, mid-strength, weak. And this happens to be the weakest one. Right? This one's not so weak of the cadent ones, but the last ones are always weak. Remember we talked about mutability, the mutable signs being weak, changeable. Same with the cadent houses that come always before the 4 angular points of the chart. You see now how the chart is transformed? It's come straight from the first graphic I did, the first ecliptic of the sun. You see, because the sun must go to the midday point. And you see, AM is always on this side over here. AM and PM, because ante-meridian and post-meridian. Ante means before. Ante, meridian, and post-meridian. So you see, if you've got a whole bunch of planets here on this side in your chart, this is sort of like the individual who's very, very self-centered, selfish, real individual who has a lot to bring to mold the world in their image, kind of force of character. Whereas here you have the people who are more other people's, more mutable, more adaptable to others and the influences of the world and absorbing of them, receiving. So you've got giving and receiving. Here you've got, if you have like 10 of your 10 planets here, this is extroversion, the daytime. If you've got all your planets here, you find this is an individual who is better when they go within, in the night, in the winter, introvert their focus, you see? So, and you see that in the chart. And see, these are the nature of the 4 quadrants. It's the nature of the energy, because you can understand how in the morning the sun comes here, it's beautiful morning, wow, great energy, you see? So this is extroversion, sun's coming out, it's, people want to get out and about. And the same here, it's still summer, and even though the sun is waning and that's very sad, it's still above the darkness. It's still up there, right? This is the best quadrant. It's always the best one. And then this one has a bit of sadness to it, because Cancer is the crab that walks sideways, you see? Which means it's stopped going forward. So once you hit the tropic of Cancer, you've got to go sideways and back again. Then Capricorn always climbs. See? So you've got your mornings, the afternoons. You've got the extroverts, the introverts. Right? Now, all of these houses, they actually reflect the signs. The first house actually reflects Aries. So, you know, if someone was born between 4 and 6 in the morning, they're going to have the sun in the rising, in the first house, you know, probably in the rising sign, could be, in the same sign and house as 1 and 1. So, those people, that's Aries. So what's Aries doing? Well, it has ambition, it has desires, it's young, so it represents the youthful part of the individual and what their heart desires and their character and their personality generally, and there's a lot more in the first house, the health of the individual. Then we come to the second house. It's more like Taurus. Taurus is about money and wealth, you know, and substance and eating. So this is the house of substance, wealth, resources, assets, values, family values. Right? Then we come to Gemini, the twins, communication. This is the house of communication. See? So if a planet is there, let's say Mars is in that house, in the individual's chart, you'll see these people are going to be really communicative, like super, you know, talk a lot. Or they've got a very, very sharp intelligence, because this is all about the intelligence and the mind as well. Brothers and sisters, as twins, it's the house of brothers and sisters. Neighbourhood, relatives, your community, networking, short travels. Opposite is long travels. Because why? Well, it's short from there, and that's long. That's how it works. Cancer, the home. This is your home life, your emotional security and privacy as well, your ancestry, investments, land, houses, etc. Pleasure. You see, we come to, it's Cancer, we come to Leo. Leo is the heart. What does the heart want? It wants to have recreation, pleasure, enjoyments, romance, children, a house of children, always associated with pleasure and the heart. Here we have illness, Virgo. All illnesses start from the gut. Virgo is the guts. The bowels, well, Libra does the bowels, but Virgo does the, no, it's Virgo, excuse me, and the intestines. So it's intestinal, and that's where you get sick, in the gut. And 6 is hex. When you're hexed, you're sick. So it's all about the number as well. 6 is going to be trouble. 7, partners, Libra. This is the partners balancing. And that's why it's the house of partners. Also, public enemies. Your public enemies. You see? Because you're over here. This is where they're going to have lawsuits against you. So when the moon's transiting Libra, you probably don't want to go to court. Have a look at these things. When it's a matter of justice, what's going on. So you see, all of these houses have significance. And not only 1 or 2 simple significances, there's endless list of things that you can find information from the 12 houses, and then from the degrees in which the planets are in. And the ancients, they had every single degree of the ecliptic catalogue. What happens when Mars reaches the first degree of Aries? That was registered, that was written, recorded. Second degree. And they put Mars all through the 360 degrees. There was many works describing what would happen. And then there's minutes, and then there's seconds. So that they had it so comprehensive that they could tell every single detail of your life. You can know everything about the individual.
He ain't your big brother.
This is why this is so very important, because all this knowledge has been dispersed. It hasn't been syncretized. Syncretism is going to bring it together again. What brought it apart was divide and conquer. Divide people from their natural science. Divide them from direct knowledge. This is direct knowledge.
Would they manipulate the birth times of the ancients like the royals do still do today? You hear about how they held certain princess from having a baby or the queen from having a baby until such and such date so that you were born under this particular sign.
Yeah.
Would the ancients manipulate that so that they would have a favorable?
They're doing this all the time. In fact, the elite make sure that their children are born on this.
Right.
Prince William born on the 21st of June, etc.
Exactly. Would the ancients do that in a positive way? Like, was that a thing that was done before in a
Always.
good way?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's why the temples were astrological. Always astrological. You go to the temples to learn astrology. It's all about the Word of God. Everyone was learning the Word of God. Astrologos. So,
Sagittarius will be the next one.
Sagittarius is the traveller. Okay, so we came to partners, then there's death and transformation, and many other things. Sexuality, sexual attractiveness, the generative system, Scorpio. Sagittarius is more now mystical, religion, philosophy, wisdom, dreams and visions, devotion to gods and temples, long journeys, pilgrimages, public life, public service, your reputation, your career, honours, dignity, acknowledgements, achievements in life, your path. The 10th house is probably the favourite of all astrologers, ultimately, because it tells the final story. What's this individual going to be at the end? You'll find that some great successful people have the sun here. You will actually find it in the clockwork. You will find that event actually in the chart all the time without fail. So let's do some questions and we're going to finish in about 20 minutes, I think. That's it, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm pretty happy with how that came to a culmination, because I'm sure now that's enough for you just to have a fundamental. But yeah, I always say I only get I only start getting unwound after 2 hours. And we had 5 hours information here. It's not enough. A course would be good, to really advance this, and you would go away with a lot more. But I hope that was plenty.
Yeah.
I have Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars in the 8th house.
Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. Okay. So either a lot of transformation will happen with you, a lot of transformation, or deaths around you, or inheritances from dead ancestors, uncles, and what have you. You will have a good business sense, good business mind. You'll be very, very creative. Creativity comes from that house, because when you have children, when you generate, you're creative. So it's that kind of creativity, very powerful, associated with the 8th sign, Scorpio, the generative system. Each sign rules a system of your body. Aries rules the cerebrospinal nervous system. Taurus rules the endocrine system. The twins, the twin lungs, Gemini, the respiratory system. Cancer, the lymphatic system. Although Pisces is also associated with that. Leo, cardiovascular, circulatory. Virgo, digestive. Libra, renal, urinary system, the renal system. Scorpio, the generative system. Sagittarius, the muscular system. Capricorn, the skeletal system. Aquarius, the 12 meridians, acupuncture meridians. 12. Pisces, the integumentary system. There's always 12. 12 cranial nerves, 12 nerves in the solar plexus.
Now, didn't the Romans give us this 12-fold cycle calendar? I mean, wasn't it like a 9-month calendar prior to that? Because the 9 months that we are birthed into this world takes 9 months. So wouldn't that be considered a year?
Yeah, there have been. There have been 10 months as well. There's been all variable.
Now, him changing it, Julius Caesar, into the 12-month cycle, would that him taking astrology and then basically putting it in literal format for us so we understand? Is that why he changed the calendar?
He was just corrected the secular calendar.
Oh, he corrected
to
it.
The sacred calendar.
So
he didn't touch the astrological calendar.
So he corrected it? He corrected it?
Yeah, but others have corrected it.
Okay.
And then it's gone out of correction. But that's what Gregory did in the 1500s with the year. Took 16 days out, and it was a correction. Everything now is settled absolutely to perfection because the calendar, the secular calendar, is pinned to the astrological calendar, and it doesn't fail. It's always Aries begins every year on the 21st of March. Period. It always, the cycle always starts at that equinox.
Did they add 3 months? Did they add that? Because September is the 7th month, and
Yeah.
October is the 8th month, and then they added the 9th, or the 10th, 11th, and 12th month. It seems like.
Yeah, they did. Julius Caesar added July, and Augustus added August, and they both made those 39 days. Because one is Julius and one is August, being holy.
Does it have to do with their harvest? Like on how they, like with their harvest season, on all that, how all that stuff, they base the calendar system on that system, the harvesting?
Well, yeah, the astrological. Yeah,
Okay.
that never changes. See, what happened was Aries used to be called Primus, Primus, Secundus, Tertius, Quartius, Quintius, Sextus, Sextus, and Sept. So Libra is this month, in 2 days' time, where the sun will enter Libra after the equinox, and it will be September, and it will be the Sept month, astrologically. Always go back to the astrology calendar, and you will understand all things. That's why the 9th month, secularly, if we start in Aquarius in January, is September.
So
but
you-
astrologically, it's absolutely.
So whether it's 9 or 12, you can do the same system on both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You just stole days from another month in the secular calendar. You can't do it astrologically.
And that's where
No one's ever touched
like
it.
3, 6, 9, and then 12 is the completion.
12 is the missing number that Tesla left out because he didn't want to give you the whole clue. He said the universe is based on 3, 6, 9.
Uh-huh.
What he didn't do was he didn't give you the 3 transitory numbers of the fourth trinity.
Uh-huh.
So what you have is 1, 2, and 3 is the positive trinity. 4, 5, and 6 is the negative. 7, 8, and 9 is neutral, and that's all they're factoring in.
Yeah, the 3, 6,
But whereas 10, 11, 12 is transitory.
That's
or
beyond. That's
transitional.
beyond the material, isn't it?
Transitional. According to Pappus, a French illuminist of the 18th century, when he did the 12 numbers and the Kabbalah, and he explained you have a positive, negative, neutral, and transitional trinities.
Uh-huh.
So 4, 1, 2, and 3 are positive numbers. 4, 5, and 6 are negative numbers. 7, 8, and 9 are neutral, at least in their full expression.
And to add on to that, the 11 and 12, L and Eve are merged into those words.
11, Eve.
So you got L and Eve both in 11 and 12.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so that's kind of merging the two. So yeah, 1 through say 5 is metaphysical, and you have 5 through 9 that's physical, and then you have the transcendent, which is 11, 12,
Yeah.
and that's when they merge.
That's right.
Okay.
So the spring would be positive, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6 is negative because the sun is waning. 7, 8, and 9 are neutral. And then the winter is a transitional, these numbers. If you look at it like that, you can see what Pappas was getting at.
Okay.
It's really hard to sort of work this out, but the transitional 3, because remember, there are people, and like Marco Rodin with his vortex mathematics, I understand it. It is 9.
Can you do
But
this?
he's missing out. You know how he's got the 9 and the 6 and the 3 outside of the other numbers, right? Marco Rodin's vortex mathematics. Well, there's also 10, 11, 12 there, which are transitional, which he hasn't included. It's 12.
Yeah, I was wondering
12
if
is
you
the number
can
of the
do the
universe.
vortex math with the 12
Yeah.
as it's because you can do it with 4s, I think, and
Yeah.
you know, you can, or 8s, I forget.
Yeah.
But there's
That way already.
But you can also say 9. It's just the same stuff.
got it. Okay.
But,
I'm getting,
Wait, yeah.
I'm on the right track.
yeah. Any more questions? Yes, sister.
Before you think, I just want to thank you for what you do for humanity, awakening our ancient information, so you've been at it for a long time.
Thank you.
And it's out for a long time. So I have two questions. One of the questions is, as I read different philosophies and different things that happen in the world, the awakening of the astrologer would be assigned to be requested in colleges in the future. So I see a future of astrologers and professors from metaphysics. But to start with, what would you recommend to the younger generation that is starting out a business as an astrologer? What suggestions do you have? That is one of the questions. Also, with this awakening within astrology, some astrologers are awakening magic as well. So magic and astrology is still awakening. The question is, when will the younger generation become aware of what is black magic and white magic, because a lot of that is being awakened? The other question that I had is, if you were explaining about spirit and soul, I'm always very curious in syncretism, when does the spirit and when does soul enter the body? When is pregnant? And my last question or suggestion is, when you work with your elements, the ancient souls that have shown us that you can use the wind, when the winds are really strong from clearing, is that you're reclaiming our own power. Or you could do it when it's raining very heavily, it's staying here. So clear all the bodies.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. So how to advance as a beginning astrologer and set up a business and get yourself geared up, because as the Egyptians did not receive any adepts who were knocking on their door, knocking you shall receive, if they didn't know how to do transits, minimum, and vegetarian lifestyle. Shut the door, go away, learn your astrology, don't harm the animals, be clean, come and we'll accept you. So how do you get there? You use all these tools that I've taught you. Understand what those elements are doing. They're teaching you big knowledge about energy. What is fire? What is earth? What is air? Learn this. You'll get to learn. You will experience it. Gemini, Libra, these are air signs. It's very mental, stimulating energy. It's mind. Pisces, Cancer, water signs, very emotional energy. You will see how the planets interact with your emotions. Just look at what the moon does to you. It wreaks havoc on people. Makes them moody. Yeah? So learn the planets, the archetypes. What does Mars do? What energy does it bring to any sign? You know? And by doing friends' charts, by asking them what their signs are, you have to expand your knowledge now. Go on the net, look up. The net would be the best way to learn. Look at YouTube channels telling you how to read the houses or how to do astrology. Ask, and it will come. So that's what I would do there. What else did you ask?
I wanted to find out what does the spirit or soul
Yeah.
enters the body?
Yeah, I'm not really too sure about that. I think it's the 49th day when, which is Pentecost, because, but I've heard, and I can't tell you what the other figure is, but if you look at this, if we go back to our calendar where we had Aries here, Taurus, right? Let's say, you see, this gives you the 9 months of gestation. Okay, at 6 months, the baby falls. It falls. It just goes. It falls down at 6 months, and it would be born here. That's why Christmas is here when the Son is born. So if it was born here, it would have to be conceived 9 months earlier here. And what is the 25th of March called, if not the day of conception? So what it's teaching you, the calendar is always teaching you, why is 25th is where it's born, that's where it's conceived, there are 9 months, the baby is in the uterus here. What happens is, after 49 days, you come to what's called Pentecost. Pente is 50, Pentecost. And they say that the embryo becomes a fetus, or that's when the soul comes in, because the spirit is already there, remember? So the spirit is one, and the soul is sevenfold. You know, so imagine its sevenfold nature is developed then, the chakras. I'm not sure. So I'm probably not really the one to ask on that, but 49 days, that Pentecost period. There's something about that, why they have this, but as you can see, it all corresponds with the cycle. Not only is this amazing theological date where conception is the 25th of March and the birth of the Saviour is the 25th of Capricorn, you can't make this stuff up. It always turns up. And it's telling you about the 9 months. And remember, they are positive, negative, neutral, and transitory. You see, so there is a transitory period also in our gestation. There has to be, because 9 months is not complete. Remember, George Carey says, if you are born in a sign, me, Aries for instance, I will be weak in that mineral salt, that tissue salt, potassium phosphate, and the next 2 signs, because you are having the full complement of minerals and trace tissue salts from her mother in the womb. And he administered the 3 salts to each individual according to their astrology, and an amazing success of healing people. Yeah. So there is something about that 9 months, and in mythology also, it's not a complete and natural thing. You know, probably the reason why humanity is still in a certain condition and we haven't advanced greatly as we would, because maybe it has to do with the gestation period. I don't know. Yeah. So did we do all those questions?
And the last question is that what's your comments about the astrology that's coming in with the awakening of magic?
Yeah, well, that's what magic is all about, because when you get to know your chart, then you create magic. Okay, so for instance, if you've got a noise in your car, ding, 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 when you're driving along, you're not a mechanic, and this is worrying you, it's a noise. So you go to the mechanic, and the mechanic says, oh, don't worry, it's just this, it's all right, you can do your 100-mile tour, right? And it alleviates you. And now you're free to practice magic, because you know what's in your car. You've got to know what's in you. Man, know thyself, and you will know the gods of the universe. How do you know yourself? Astrologically. You can't know yourself fully without astrology. You need to know where your Mars is. Mine's in Leo, the heart. Does that figure? Yeah. You can tell my Leo, my heart has got burning Mars in there. It gives you a lot of passion, it gives you a lot of desire, it gives you a lot of energy from the heart. Right? My sun is in Aries. Yeah, I'm good with cerebral activity because the sun is illuminating that part of the brain. My moon is in my feet, Pisces. And Jupiter and Mercury. I'm very, very fast. I'm a very fast Arian. Arians are fast, but I'm super fast. My mum says that my speed is not from this world. She reckons she's never seen it. She used to call me Jehu. Jehu in the Bible was the king of Jezebel, and he was fast in his chariot, and one of the enemies heard Jehu coming and said, "Oh, that's got to be Jehu, the king of Israel, because no one drives that fast." She used to call me that because she could tell when I was getting home, because she said she heard cars screaming 100 miles an hour and then just stopping and then getting into the garage, and then all of a sudden I'm home, Mum. It's like, "Hi, Mum." And she would call me Jehu because no one does things as fast as I do. So, yeah, and that's because of Mercury in the feet. A lot of Arians have Mercury in Pisces, and they are very fleet of foot. And that's about it, guys. Thank you. There you go. Is that it? Yeah.
Can you go into a little more detail with the white transfer? Like, is there optimal?
Have a look at my YouTube channel. All right, keep going if you want to. Oh, sorry. Have a look at my YouTube channel. I've done one on the perfect matrimony. I've done one on white tantra, twin flames. There's about, in the last 2 months, there's about 4 or 5 videos where I've touched on this and have developed the cranial nerve.
Like, the optimal position?
Yeah,
You know, like,
that's the reason why we're here.
missionary or like,
You can learn all that yourself. All I'm teaching is how to have non-ejaculatory sex, because the seminal fluids, that's why young men go to seminaries to learn seminary retention and not to squander those materials for which will be built the 13th cranial nerve.
And
So,
I'm sorry, sir.
yeah, I'll
Is
be.
that one for the animals, like my previous question?
What's that?
With the Chinese zodiac, like
Yeah.
how does that tie in with the?
All right, well, I'll give you the key. Start with the dog. Start with the dog in Aries.
I'm a dog.
Right. And that's Aries. And then you'll see how they all coincide. You'll see the tiger goes where Leo is. You'll see the horse goes where Sagittarius is. The snake goes where Scorpio is. The dragon goes where Libra is, where the dragon is.
I'm a Libra, but I'm also a water dog. How do we?
Yeah, that's different, because Libra by the sun, but yet the Chinese sign is Jupiterian. It's not solar.
Thank you.
Yep.
You say you're gonna mention about the flat lake.
The flag?
About the
Oh, you threw it away.
Yeah.
You do it all this.
I did a bit. Well, remember.